They have a mannequin ass. As soon as they showed his face, I was like, I don't like this guy at all.
Maybe the Kamen Rider would his name be Kamen Rider Hauser?
Jin shooting the tentacle into her. So she gets caught up on what's going on. And then we...
Three hosts. The Twitch podcast is born.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Kamen Up Next podcast. I'm here, your host, a giant robot, joined by my co-hosts, Jesse.
Hey.
And Nick.
Hey, everybody.
And today we're talking about Kamen Rider 01 episodes 20 to 23. So we're just gonna jump right into it, I think, starting with episode 20.
Yes, we will. And episode 20, titled This is 1000% the Best House, is the second part of the two-parter that we left off on last week. So it's the real estate showdown of the Battle of the Jobs competition. And at the end of last episode, Smile was destroyed by Thouser. And at the start of this episode, she's restored. And we're immediately introduced to what's going to be the story for this episode. So we're introduced to a new rich real estate customer client with a budget of 500 million yen comes to the table. And whoever basically sells him a house within his budget is going to be assumed to be the winner because it's enough money to sway the competition. And all of our cast members are basically invited to the client's place for the competition. So the Hidden team with Izu, Aruto, and Smile, and then Ariashiki and Yaiba and them are all brought over to the client's place. And the client, the rich client, fills them in that his wife recently passed away, so he wants to move to a new place. And his only requirement is it's got to be big enough for his sons and their families to come visit him. And he's prepared to spend up to 500 million yen to make that happen.
When they find out about the client, they're in Smile's office, Aruto, Izu, and I don't know if we saw him in the last episode, but the carpenter Humagear is there as well. And Aruto literally goes insane at the beginning.
When he kind of goes Super Saiyan, yeah.
Yeah, his hair, like, when he hears the price, he, like, his hair goes up and he's, like, maniacally laughing for, I think, like, 5 minutes straight.
It's funny, though, because you got to think, like, he didn't probably makes a lot more than that overall.
Oh, yeah.
But he's so not, like, clued into the, like, financial side of his company that it's still obviously a lot for him.
You would think he also makes a lot of money being the CEO of the company. I guess it shows, like, he's still, like, naive and all that stuff, yeah.
It's a great way to open the episode is all I've got to say.
Absolutely, it was hilarious.
I think we get the opening after that. And then following that, we actually cut to Fua. And Fua is interviewing Hirobi. And we find out yet again, once again, it's just like, we kind of go through the same, but we kind of go through the same beats in these episodes, right? And this is like one of those things that happens, but it gives us a little bit more information each and every time.
Mm-hmm.
So Fua shows Hirobi some footage of that cloaked, hooded character that was holding the raid riser. And Hirobi doesn't ID them. He says, I don't know who that is, or it's the, I can't see their face, so how do you expect me to ID them, So he's being cheeky. Gives them the runaround. We cut back to the jobs competition, and Ariashiki calls the client and offers him a huge mansion that's just under his budget, while Smile is doing research and finds a cozy little cheap cabin in the woods that just needs some light renovation and would be perfect for the old man rich client that's got the huge budget.
Can I also say, like, Ariashiki is just like a huge dick, and he continues to be a huge dick. Like, when they were at the client's office, everyone else stands up and bows when he walks in, and dude's just lounging in a chair, doesn't even bother to be respectful.
He doesn't have respect or manners.
Ariashiki has nothing to his character that makes him
He's the worst.
Warm up to you or makes him likable.
Completely irredeemable. Even his sap story is like nothing. means nothing.
I don't like him, and I
No.
don't think anyone on the show likes him, honestly.
He's like, yeah, I grew up with a loving, warm family, but it was a small house and it was a bad place because of the train
Because of the
noise.
trains, they make
Boo
too
hoo.
much noise. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
he's basically offering the huge mansion to the customer, to the client, and Smile finds that cozy little cabin, and she's smiling and she's like, "This is the perfect house." At which point, Izu and Naruto try to explain to her that she needs to also think about the profits because this is a competition that they're
Yeah.
in. They want to win, but Smile, they just simply tells them that her job is to find people their dream homes and to make them happy. So you can't
Aruto's
argue.
yeah, Aruto's torn by it too because he that's what he wants, but also he wants to win. So he's torn by like, do I force her to find a home that'll give me more profit or this literal perfect home?
Yeah, and when Smile's just basically saying, "Yeah, but my purpose is to find people their dream homes and to make them happy." It's like, yeah, you can't argue with that.
It wouldn't be Naruto if he did.
Exactly.
You absolutely would not. So you kind of like get left in suspense for like a half a second because you see Naruto just like mulling it over, but then immediately in the next scene, you see the carpenter Humagear from last episode show up at the cabin to go and fix it up. So obviously, Naruto decided that we're going to go with Smile's house and we're going to pitch the guy his dream house. Unfortunately, Ariashi's still a jerk, so he shows up and bullies the carpenter before he can work on the house into, bullies him into hating humanity and becoming a Magia. He becomes the
Once again.
Mammoth Magia. Once
Fills him
again,
with malice.
fills him with malice, and he, poor carpenter Humagear is on the ground being beaten up by this jerk and turns into the Mammoth Magia. Ariashki then henshins into the Splashing Whale Raider, and Fua comes in and watches this happen. So he sees Ariashki transform into the Whale Raider and clash with the Magia. And seeing this unfold, he tries to arrest Ariashki, taking him on. So he henshins into his Punching Kong form,
Which we haven't seen for a hot minute.
we haven't seen
So-
for a little while. And Punching Kong gets defeated by the Whale Raider. Uses like I remember what it was, some sort of like splashing bolide, I think was what it was called.
Something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
He had like his like fin weapon turned into like an energy plate that came crashing down, then turned into like a wave that crashed down on Pua, and then he was just kind of down for the count for a little bit. And as that happens, obviously Guy comes in because he always comes in these moments.
Yep.
Henshins into Thouser as he's been doing over and over, and then he destroys the Magia, destroys the Carpenter turned Mammoth Magia. And then Ariashki is not done. He blows up the house before they all just run off. And Fua, having witnessed all this, he goes back to Hedon and he fills in Naruto and Izu on what happened. So revealing to them that Ariashki is playing dirty and that he is the Splashing Whale Raider. And Izu actually, they actually debate calling off the real estate challenge, given that there's this foul play.
Yeah.
And then it gets a little bit weird because then Naruto tells Fua not to arrest Ariashki because I assume without the competition, they're not able to sell the man the perfect house that Smile found for him.
Yeah, probably.
Probably, yeah.
I would assume, yeah.
So Fua agrees to hold off on the arrest, and once Fua leaves, Smile reminds Naruto that the house is destroyed, so that's a problem. And Naruto gets a bright idea, so he's thinking there for a second. He's processing, and there's like
It has the Humagear processing noise going on as he's thinking.
going on, and he finally gets a brainwave, and we find out that he decides to actually not just remake the Carpenter Humagear, but multiples of him.
A whole Sentai squad.
Yeah, a whole squad, all wearing different colored clothes. And there's I think there's 5 of them.
Yeah.
And they're wearing Sentai colors.
And they do the poses and everything.
Yeah, they pose
And
and they do a roll call.
I think they were all holding different tools.
Yeah, they all had
too.
different tools, like different weapons. Yep.
It was awesome.
It was the whole thing.
So they obviously, the Sentai team manages to fix the house.
No
And-
time flat.
Yeah, just snap of the fingers. So they're all at the newly built cabin. Aruto asks Smile, why this house? Why did we have to go through all this trouble for this house? Why is this perfect? And Smile fills him in on why exactly that house is perfect, because it's basically exactly what the man needs at his tender age. And Aruto then goes back to his office and starts mulling over what it means to be a CEO. Like, because Guy kind of got into his head in the last episode, being like, if you can't make a profit, you're worthless, right? So he starts thinking about that, and he actually goes ahead and asks Izu, what is it like? What's my job? Like, what is it to be a CEO? And then, Izu gives him that textbook definition of like, your job is to make decisions. And then I think, Aruto has that moment where he realizes, maybe I don't have to lead the way Guy does, which is kind of like an important thing in my head anyway. I think it's a good character moment for Aruto.
Sure.
Following all of this, they go back and they want to hear the client's final decision on which house he's going to pick. So they pitch them both houses, the big mansion that Ariashki pitched and the newly built cabin. And on the way there, Fuwa was supposed to tag along so he can arrest Ariashki afterward, but he just kind of runs off after he sees the cloaked person.
He starts chasing the hooded figure around.
The hooded figure. So he just gets lost chasing the hooded figure around. And so the rest of the crew goes in to the client's building, and he goes on to tell them that he picked Smile's house. So Smile wins the competition, and Ariashki is kind of pissed. He kind of jets out and he's angry, and Aruto goes after him. But Ariashki is still kind of a dick, so he just turns into the whale raider and attacks Aruto, who this time doesn't mess around, goes all out in Shining Assault Hopper form and
kicks his butt.
Kicks his ass, and we get some really cool fighting action where he kind of zips around in that form.
It was a good fight.
And shoots him in the chest there, knocks him down. Point blank. And it's obvious that he's gonna win. So he's thinking, this Ariashki guy, come on, you're not gonna be that much of a dick. So he extends his hand and he says, okay, come on now, like you're coming with me, you're done. But Ariashki still doesn't give up and tries attacking him again. And then
straight up the scene from Dragon Ball Z where Goku gives Frieza energy, and then Frieza uses it to attack Goku, and Goku just goes, "You fool!" It was exactly that in Kamen Rider form.
It ends exactly the same way too. Ariashki's not winning that fight.
No.
And then finally, after he accepts his defeat at the hands of Aruto, and he finally starts to realize, okay, you know what? Maybe I didn't know what a house is all this time. And then Guy shows up.
A jerk. That's a nice house, Smile. Shut up.
Yeah, it's like no one cares at this point. You don't get redemption.
Completely irredeemable. You don't get to be nice anymore.
It kind of sucks that we don't see him getting taken into custody at the end of this too.
He for sure should have been arrested
on the
immediately.
spot.
Yeah.
He caused a lot of property damage through this whole thing.
He did a lot of illegal things.
A lot of arson.
Anyway, at the end of the episode, Guy shows up, and even though it seems like they won the competition because they wound up selling the house to the rich guy, it wasn't expensive enough, the house, and in terms of profit, Zaya still wins the competition.
Which fucking is dumb, but
They should have just did enough renovations on that house to make it worth more money.
So before we move on to the next episode, one thing I gotta say, because I was assuming in the beginning that all the Progrise keys that existed that were all in Guy's possession were all going to be new forms for 01. And I actually like it better that it's not going to be just a bunch of one-off new forms that we're going to see and then never see again. And instead we have these raiders that are coming in and are going to be using these keys on a week-to-week basis. I think that's pretty cool. That's a cool shift.
Yeah. I also, while you were talking about it, realized why Fuwa became Punching Kong and not Assault Wolf.
Why is that?
Well, it's because Guy was going to show up as Thouser, and they needed a new target for him to use his Thousand Jacker on and have a new attack. So, Punching Kong hadn't been used yet. There you go.
I guess, yeah.
It's what happened.
There was also, I was going to mention it, but I didn't earlier. There was just a little acting moment in the scene where Aruto was asking Izu what she thinks a CEO is. She brought him hot cider, and she's talking and he's drinking the cider, and it just like shows his face for a second as he takes his sip, and he just looks like it's the best cider it's the best thing he's like ever tasted. And I just like it didn't mean anything, but it was like, okay, I guess Naruto likes cider / Izu is good at making drinks. I thought
So you
that
know,
was fun.
like maybe it's just my stupidity and it's the only thing that I saw when I saw the cider, but I saw this golden liquid with red stars in it, and I was like, "Is this a Dragon Ball reference?"
It was like definitely like an apple. Yeah, it was like an apple slice.
Dude, there's so much Dragon Ball references in this show.
It kind of the cider kind of looked like a Dragon Ball.
It did have that.
Dragon Ball.
It did have that vibe. Yeah.
Even and the way that Shining Hopper and Shining Assault Hopper fights is like Dragon Ball esque, where mirror imaging around and
Z vanishing.
Z vanishing. Yeah, it's
Really, really well done. I liked it.
Oh yeah,
The splashing Belied attack. We get a bunch of like Raider Belied attacks, so I had to look up the word Belied,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and it's defined as, in case you didn't know, any generic large crater forming impacting body.
Okay, Jesus,
Yeah.
Okay.
that's extreme.
Yeah, that's a lot. It's a lot for like an enemy that's gonna be there for 2 episodes.
I like it though.
Are we ready for episode 21, gentlemen?
Yeah, we can move on.
Let's do it.
All right, episode 21 titled Objection, That Trial. And we jump into the next job competition right away, and we find out that it's a legal trial this time. There's a man accused of running a marriage scam. He's being represented by a Humagear defense lawyer, and the prosecutor is a man wearing a Zaya spec on the Zaya team. And the outcome of the trial is the winner of the competition.
Yeah, can we start off by saying how unfair that
Yeah,
is?
I immediately said how bullshit it is, and then Izu was like, yeah, "This is not fair."
It's unfair. It's unethical. Like there's so many things wrong with it.
It's the
Just
worst.
right off the bat. I think Naruto says it, like they're gambling with a man's life.
Yeah,
It's
then-
so
but
fucked up.
guy's just an asshole. He's like, "Yeah, well, this is what we chose. So if you don't do it, you lose."
And
like,
clearly he chose
God.
it for that reason, because he knew that it
Yeah.
would shake up Naruto. But it's like, guy,
I hate you.
I know like he gets punched when they fight, but like he needs a real, like, just a punch to the face in his normal civilian form. He just needs like a good punch to the face.
It is absolutely effed up, but we have to roll with it.
Yeah.
Right?
Unfortunately, yeah.
So we get introduced to our champions for this round, and Naruto and Izu's champion for this round is the lawyer Humagear, Bengoshi Bingo. And Bingo has instant access to all laws, and he's also a human lie detector.
He's pretty OP.
That
I'm-
lie detecting power would have been super handy in the last round, just saying.
Yeah.
But I guess it's just Bingo's power. Like no other human gear has this power. So he actually immediately tells us that he's detected with his lie detecting powers that the defendant isn't lying about being innocent. So he's really motivated to prove the guy's innocence. And the trial is on. And we find out some details of the case as we're in the courtroom. The defendant proposed to his girlfriend after dating her for less than a month. And after proposing to her, he sent her a text message asking her to deposit 30 million yen into a bank account, which the police found to be a bank account belonging to a known scam group. And the defendant was then arrested. Bingo tells the court that the defendant had an alibi and was actually at a comedy show at the time that the message was sent. So the message must have been sent by a third party, or the defendant's phone must have been hacked. And the comedy show that he was at was actually like a callback to that first Humagear we saw in episode 1, which was the guy with the busting abs.
Yeah, so since it was a humor gear, there was recorded footage from that humor gear.
Yeah.
And also he had one of the abs as like a
As
proof that he
evidence,
was
yeah.
there.
One of the little thingies, yeah.
So the first day of the trial went well, and after leaving the courtroom and heading into the car, Izu, Bingo, and Aruto are attacked by a new lion raider. I'm just gonna call him Lion Muteki.
Dynamite Lion, yeah.
Dynamite Lion. He has a Gatling gun.
That shoots dynamite, I think, right?
No, he also, so what he does is he shoots the Gatling gun and then it gets hot and then he takes a piece of dynamite and then he lights the fuse with the hot metal from the Gatling gun and then throws
Okay.
that.
During the fight so basically Aruto takes him on his Shining Assault Hopper. Izu takes Bingo to safety, right? And then Fua jumps in as Assault Wolf. Like during the fight, there's the axe rise. I don't know what is attaché axe, I guess, or the attaché buster in axe mode.
Yeah.
That Shining Assault Hopper uses to like fight him, and then it kind of goes flying up into the air, and it's really awesome because then Fua comes in as Assault Wolf, grabs the axe, turns it into Buster mode, lands on the ground, and then shoots the lion
It was sick.
point blank in the chest, and that was an awesome moment there.
It's
And
cool
Go ahead.
because Fua is just as cool as Naruto when it comes to fighting.
Oh,
They
yeah.
both
Really
do
is.
like equally, like one doesn't outshine the other. They're both super cool when they fight. Like they both have super cool moves. Fua just like something about like the gun is slightly more cool.
it's
But-
just the combination of the two. So like the axe goes flying up into the air, he comes down, he turns the axe into the gun, and then supports Aruto in like the most beautiful way.
It's like unintentional teamwork.
It's so good.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
And
to see.
immediately following that, there was that awesome moment of comedy where the raider actually loads up that stick of dynamite and throws it between Fua and Aruto, and they both just kind of stare at it for a second, like, huh?
Yeah.
And then it blows up and gives the raider a chance to escape.
That was good.
So then the raider winds up escaping the fight, but winds up in the chaos, dropping and leaving behind a Zaya spec. And Fuo wants that Zaya spec so he can have it analyzed by the police. And Aruto obviously wants that too, but he says, I'll give it to you, but I need a favor from you first. And then we cut to the prosecutor from the trial who goes to Zaya and at that moment conveniently goes in and asks for a replacement Zaya spec because his is missing. So that implies that perhaps he's the raider.
And up until now, that's pretty much, what's been happening. So it seems like literally, not it seems like, what's been happening is that literally every opponent cheats.
Yeah.
They all
up
cheat.
till now.
They're all racist against Humagears, and they all cheat. And they all represent Zaya, which is somehow okay with Guy. I don't know.
1,000%.
1,000% okay with Guy.
As long as he's getting results, that's all he cares about.
As long as
But-
his company's reputation is intact.
But he also, in the first time when he found out that I forget his name now, the florist guy was cheating, was like
Tachibana.
pissed about it, and then he warned I can't remember anybody's name. Ariasaki? He warned him not to cheat. But everybody cheats.
I think he was that pissed with the first guy because it was like in public and like Aruto was there, so he had to put on that like
Yeah.
face.
it-
Like
it
I
was-
think if
was
it
gonna
was all
affect the company.
private, yeah, if it was all private, he wouldn't care. But because it was something that Aruto was there and it was public and they knew, he had to put
I
it
guess
on that act.
I guess so. I keep like reiterating how shitty he just rides on the coattails of other people. So I guess
Yeah.
like it stands to reason that he probably wouldn't actually hate cheating.
Yeah, it's just the reputation. So
Yeah,
if as long as it goes on and nobody knows about it, he's fine.
that's true. That's true.
So Aruto's favor to Fua winds up being that he wants him to take him and Izu to Hirobi to ask him if he knows anything about the Humagears being hacked and turned into Magia. So we finally get to see Aruto and Izu now visiting Hirobi and talking to him. And Hirobi tells them that the Humagear are going berserk from their own free will because of the malice of humans. And that kind of freaks out Aruto a bit because he's like, holy smokes, the Humagear out of their own will going crazy. And he's kind of freaking out at Ames in like a lobby area. And Fua comes out and actually calms him down with some nice words, and they have a nice tender moment.
Yeah. I did want to say, Horobi straight out calls out internet trolls in his speech about it. He just says like, I don't, what were the words he used? He calls people on the internet shitty.
I think that actually does word for word happen.
He definitely says something like that, and it was just really funny because he's straight up calling out internet trolls.
You know, I saw a meme earlier today, and it was like, "Oh, Ultron's the best MCU villain because he spent 5 minutes on the internet and decided that humanity had to die." It's like the same thing.
Yeah, yeah, that's basically what Arc is. Yeah.
Yeah.
That scene with
Yeah.
Fua too. I just wanted to say it is a nice moment between them. It shows kind of that Fua he's still evolving and changing, and he's like more and more starting to trust Hiden and Aruto, and by extension Humagears. He's definitely like way less mad all the time, especially at Humagears. But yeah, I thought that was a nice like character growth moment for Fua. Just he's been like doing, I guess off camera because we haven't seen him as much as everybody else, but he's been like working on his whole Humagear thing, which I thought was nice.
Yeah, it's a nice like post character development moment because he had that moment where he was saved by the Humagear and he's been kind of conflicted ever
Yeah,
since, and
that's
and
it.
he's passing that off to Aruto, saying, well, isn't it your job to make sure that doesn't happen to them?
Yeah, he's still growing. He had the moment, like the moment of shift, and it's nice to see that it wasn't just like a moment and then nothing came of it. He's actually like moving in that direction of starting to trust Humagear.
And at the same time bonding with Aruto, which is
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, it's nice to see them like just be friends. Be
Naruto and
cordial.
Fua best match.
I think
Yes.
so.
100% yes. Sorry, 1000% yes.
Shut up.
So after they have that tender moment, after we get that nice and lovely Aruto and Fua moment, Fua gets a call from the police and the Zaya spec has been analyzed. They head down to the police station and they're greeted by a detective who basically tells them that the Zaya spec belongs to the prosecutor. And in that conversation, Fua notes that, wait a second, you're not the detective that I dropped the Zaya spec with.
I was gonna say that.
And the guy tells him, oh, it was transferred to me because I'm the detective that arrested the defendant. So following that, Aruto and gang get pretty pissed that, this would be foul play in the competition, and they storm in to confront the Zaya squad. And they flat out accuse the prosecutor in front of Guy and Yaiba, which are there sitting around a table. And at that moment, like in the middle of, hey, that's not cool, you guys, Bingo uses his lie detecting ability to determine that actually the prosecutor isn't lying and he wasn't the raider that attacked them. So then that gives Guy an opening to, in turn, get pissed and bully Bingo and tell him, oh, this is slander on your part. And he just turns to Izu and Aruto and said, do you have a backup of this guy?
So
Good.
cold. I hated that. Oh,
Slaps a Zetsume riser on poor Bingo, turns him into a Magia so he can justify blowing him up. And he turns into Thouser and he destroys him.
I thought
Yeah, that was awful.
I like Bingo a lot.
Me too.
I like that his catchphrase is Bingo,
Yeah, it's great.
and also his name is Bingo.
But you know what makes it better is that Aruto gets just as pissed as we do
Oh yeah,
at this.
Oh yeah,
And
he's
then
like, oh.
he's so mad.
goes all out, Shining Assault Hopper mode, and attacks Thouser, and that's how the episode ends. We actually don't get the clash between Shining Assault Hopper and Thouser this episode. We get like a really brief moment where they clash, but we don't get the full fight, and then it closes.
Once again, I can't reiterate enough how much I hate Guy. Not like
He's just the
nothing he
worst.
does is even remotely like nothing he does I can even be like, I guess that's not so bad. I hate everything he does.
Oh, one note I have for this episode that I have to tell you, Zach,
Yeah.
is I was looking up the cast and like the guest stars. So Bingo
Yeah.
is Ho Soldier from Q Ranger.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
And Ebby, the victim of the
Yeah.
marriage scam,
Mhm.
and she shows up in the future episodes as well. She's Yellow Buster from Go Buster.
She's Yellow Buster?
Yeah.
She looks completely different. I did not recognize her at all. That's wild.
That's pretty cool.
And that is really cool. I like that a lot.
Another note from this episode I have is, wow, Yua's just straight up like went from being a main character to being guy's bitch.
Yeah. That's what's really frustrating about this arc
It's-
for me is that they just screwed up Yua's character. She was so cool and now she just does whatever Guy tells her to do and it's so annoying.
Okay, episode 22, titled "He Still Didn't Do It!" Exclamation point. And we pick up where we left off. Shining Assault Hopper and Thouser fight, and they actually, surprisingly to me, fight pretty evenly.
Yeah.
Like in that the fight actually ends in a draw, but during the fight, Thouser obviously jacks the Shine System power from Shining Assault Hopper with the 1000 Jacker.
Yeah.
If
Unfortunately.
he didn't do that, like Shining Assault Hopper probably would have had the upper hand.
I
Which is
think so
pretty
too.
cool.
I think
It's-
so too.
It's borderline infuriating how they keep letting him do that. Like they should know that it's gonna happen, but it just keeps happening.
He winds up using that power again, and it definitely is probably the most powerful thing that he has jacked. But
Oh yeah.
they fight
100%.
to a dead heat after that, and they both dehension and decide, you know what, we're going to settle this in the courtroom because we need to close out that thread. And we cut to Zaya HQ where Yaiba has the 1000 Jacker. So in the Daybreak Town, like in that, I don't know where it is. Is it in Daybreak Town?
It's
Yeah,
in Daybreak, yeah.
It's where the arc printer is.
Yeah, it's
where the arc printer is.
It's
yeah.
where Hirobi and it's where Mitsubojin Rai's hideout was previously.
Yeah, mannequin ass.
Yeah.
Mannequin
where
It did
Mannequin House
return.
resides.
It did return in that
Yeah.
episode.
She has the 1000 Jacker plugged to a computer, and her and Guy discuss them creating a forbidden progress key that'll lock 01's system, is what they say. And Yaiba asks, why are we doing that, since if we win the jobs competition, Aruto won't have access to the 01 driver anymore anyway. You know, we're going to have that. We're going to own that property. And Guy says that it's important for him to kill that technology since Aruto's grandfather created it to defeat Arc, and it can't be underestimated. So Arc starts making the metal cluster progress key. We see it for a split second on screen there.
Yeah.
And then we snap back to the courtroom where the prosecutor examines the victim of the marriage scam, Ebby, and she says that the defendant's alibi could have been staged. He could have sent the message in advance. He could have delayed it to send at a certain time when he'd be on camera, not holding his phone. So Bingo doesn't have an argument for this, and that's the end of the day for that day of the trial. They leave the courtroom, and Aruto heads over to Ames again to talk to Hirobi, this time asking him about Zetsume risers and where they come from, because he saw Guy slap it on Bingo last episode, and that kind of freaked him out. So Hirobi then tells him those are Arc's creation, for us to rise up against the humans, basically. And he gets pissed when Izu tells him that Amatsu Guy had one in his possession.
He gets so mad.
Yeah,
It's amazing.
He's in the straitjacket and he's freaking out because
Doesn't he just like end up on the floor, like just
Yeah.
yelling and writhing?
with his
So
eyes
mad.
glowing red and being like, "You humans using the Arc for your own like means."
Yeah, I mean, like, it makes sense, right? Because the Ark is like God for him. So to him, the guy is literally stealing his God-given gift.
It's pretty gut wrenching.
I mean, you kind of feel for Hirobi, but you know, he's
I
also
kinda
kind
like
of
Hirobi
evil,
now.
So
Well, I don't know if I like Hirobi, but
I like him
I
in
know-
these scenes.
I always liked Hirobi.
I never
Let me
hated
know.
him.
I can see the redemption.
I don't know if Hirobi's gonna get a redemption.
It's
I
not his
wonder
fault.
about
It
that.
was the guy's fault that he was evil. They just gotta plug him into Zaya and like rewire him.
Let me ask you guys something. Is this the first that Aruto's hearing about like what Ark's about? Is this his first discovery of like Ark?
I
And
think so.
No.
because he winds up, so they leave the interrogation. Aruto winds up asking Fua to go investigate who the raider is because he has something to look into himself.
Yeah. So Naruto knows what Arc is because Hirobi has brought up like the will of the Arc. Jin was talking about the Arc. He doesn't have like all the info, but he knows what Arc is. He knows that it's the satellite.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but he doesn't know like
at
the origins of it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well,
so that's
it,
what he
which is
that's what he
wants to
sets
look
off to
up.
find out,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, that's what he sets off to find out. So while that's happening, the metal cluster key is finished printing in the Arc printer room, and Fua calls Bingo and tells him to stall the trial until he figures out who the raider is because Aruto told him to investigate on his behalf. And Aruto at the same time is he's investigating Ark's origins by connecting to Zaya along with Izu. So he puts on the 01 driver and then he connects to Zaya with Izu and he starts doing like a lookup
It's
on Ark.
it's pretty. I thought it was. I mean it's not, but it's kind of like how Shotaro could only like mind meld with Philip when they were wearing the double driver.
Mm-hmm.
He can only mind meld or like connect to Zaya while wearing the 01 driver. It might have been on purpose, but I don't know. It's just something I noticed and I thought was pretty cool.
In that like lookup, he finds out that Ark was developed by both Hedon and Zaya, so by his grandfather and Guy. Then we cut to Fua, who's doing his investigation on who the raider is, and he gets a lead that the detective who arrested the defendant, the one that we saw, kind of looked shady from the beginning. Gotta say.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So he finds out that guy is shady, and he records him talking while he's on like a call with Bingo, and Bingo in his visual feed does his lie detector thing on the detective and finds out that he's lying to Fua. At which point, Fua gets up, cracks his neck,
Yeah, I have that badass neck crack.
says Bingo, and has an off-screen fight with him.
Can I just say, Fua is an amazing detective because he did all of that like research and detective work in what, like 20 minutes? Like he couldn't have been holding the courtroom off that long.
Would you say he's hard boiled?
Fua?
Fu-
Yeah, Fua is
Yeah.
hard boiled.
Fua's
100%.
pretty hard-boiled, I would say.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
completely hard boiled. Are you kidding?
No.
That man is like the definition of hard boiled.
Yeah, he gives off some Terui vibes, man. Come on.
Oh yeah.
True. He does.
So
Yeah.
Fua has that fight with the detective off screen. He takes him in. He takes them into the courtroom, and they're all like both kind of beat up, so you can tell that they had a fight off screen.
Yeah.
That was the best part.
But it's important also to note, like, they had just decided that the defendant was like guilty because he couldn't stall any longer, and then he's like, no, it wasn't him who became the raider or whatever. And then they're like, well, who did then? And that's when Fua comes in, like it was this guy.
Yeah.
And yeah, they're all beat up. And then the judge was gonna be a dick and be like, well, it's too late. But the prosecutor that's on the other side was like, no, it's okay, let's reopen this and actually prosecute the right guy. And we find out he's the first one on the Zaya team who wasn't a dick and is
Yeah.
actually a good guy who was doing his job properly.
They knew. They were like, we can't do this same thing
Yeah.
4 times in a row at this point. They're like, we gotta do something different, and it was really cool because they completely subverted all of our expectations, I think.
I will say that there was one moment where it was kind of, I don't know if it was foreshadowing or not. I'll let you guys tell me. But when the prosecutor was having that conversation with Guy, saying that, it's 99.9% chance if this guy's guilty, I'm going to get him. And then Guy does his stupid thing where he's like, "That's not enough. It should be 999%." And then the prosecutor turns back to him and says, "You know what? If you don't want my help, I'm just testing out the features of this thing. If you don't trust me and my skills, then you can take this thing back, and I'm gonna do it on my
Yeah.
own."
They definitely did like they were like they gave you hints that maybe it wasn't him.
Yeah, for sure.
But you're already conditioned to believe that it's him, especially since right after, like, or right before that, like, we find out that he's missing his Zaya spec and everything. So like all the signs obviously point to him.
Yeah.
So even those like little bits are a little they feel like throwaway lines or something.
So once it's revealed that the detective is the one that was responsible for all this stuff, Fua holds up the key and says, "See, he was the raider all along." And then the detective smacks the key out of Fua's hands, jacks the lion key back, runs outside, tensions into the lion raider, and fights Fua as Assault Wolf.
Can
And it
can I say the Raiders text to speech line?
Yeah.
shoot.
A beautiful explosion force like fireworks.
I love that.
I love Explosion Force.
Yeah, it's perfect.
I was gonna say,
Naruto-
spread your ass and prepare for an explosion force.
Oh no, it's getting worse.
I don't even know anymore. Sorry.
I had to say it.
So, so Fua's fighting the raider, and at the same time, Aruto, who just found out that everything about what made Arc evil and stuff, he decides to confront Guy at the same time because he finds out that Guy is basically effectively responsible for Metsubo Jinrai in the first place. So Fua's busy fighting the raider, Aruto's fighting Guy, while Shining Assault Hopper is fighting Thouser. Thouser kind of kicks Shining Assault Hopper's ass this time around, and Aruto dehensions. After he's dehensioned, Thouser walks right up to him and just shoves the metal cluster key into his 01 driver. And we get Aruto forced hensioning into Metal Cluster Hopper. This henshin is kind of brutal because while it's super cool and it like makes a bunch of cheerful sounds, at the same time you have those moments where he's not connected to Zaya for this henshin. It's an Arc key, so he's connected to Arc, and Arc isn't very friendly to humans, so it's just this whole sea of malice that he's like stuck in
It's just
while he's hensioning.
He's in pain like the whole time.
Yeah, he's just yelling in pain.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, we get like a really cool sound effect for Metal Cluster Hopper, and metal, it's high quality.
It's
high quality.
Yeah, oh, it's super cool. And then
Yeah.
it kicks
I love.
Bowser's ass.
Oh yeah.
But he shreds the Lion Raider before Thouser
Oh, yeah.
decides to attack him.
So we should
Yeah.
explain what Metal Cluster Hopper does. So
and is.
So it's like it kind of looks like regular Rising Hopper, but with like extra bits. And essentially, how he attacks is he's made up of like nanobots.
A cluster of like metal
Yeah,
locusts.
they're nanobots that look like locusts, and then he uses those to attack his enemies, and it just like you said, shreds them. So he shreds up the raider, and like eats the costume. And I think when he untransforms, his clothes are eaten too. Like his suit is like gone. It's nasty.
It's really cool too, because since his suit is made up of these metal locusts, when they go to attack, you see just Aruto's body.
Yeah, you can see pieces of his body. Yeah,
it leaves him to attack and then comes back and forms the suit. And he's of course not in control. 100% berserk mode.
yeah.
It is
Arc
a
doing its
berserk
thing.
form.
Yeah.
This is his
It is a
berserk form.
berserk.
Yeah.
One of the coolest, if not the coolest. I love the way it fights. It's so cool.
I love its design. It's
yeah.
basically it's all like metallic silver, but it's got yellow eyes and some yellow accents. It's so cool. Like, it sucks because Aruto can't control it, but like at the same time, you can't help but admire like how cool the design is, and the power itself, because it functions sort of similarly to the Shining system, because like they create a swarm of locusts, but they can also like
Block and
they can form together and create like a block or a shield or whatever. So it's pretty freaking cool and incredibly strong.
And it's incredibly rewarding to see Thouser get his ass kicked for once.
It feels so good.
so hard. He just gets wrecked.
Absolutely destroyed.
He's not all that phased by it though, because it falls into his plan, right? And this is like
Pretty much what he wanted to happen.
we don't want, like, we don't know everything at the end of this episode. We're kind of wondering like, why did Guy do this? But he did have that conversation earlier with Yaiba where he says this is the key that's going to lock 01's powers, right? So
Also,
we get into that later on.
Also, Yaiba was recording it again, kind of the same way she recorded Dodo, like way back at the beginning.
I have a bullet point for that, but I was like, I don't know why. So you was
Yeah.
filming the Metal Cluster versus Thouser fight, and I
after-
don't know why she's doing it.
They don't explain it. We just see her walk out from behind like a tree or something after Aruto beats Guy, and she's just holding her phone like she's recording.
That was really starting to piss me off. Like,
It's frustrating, man.
Leave this fucking prick, man.
Yeah,
He's no good for you.
it's really frustrating. But
Yeah.
we have no explanation why she was recording.
But it doesn't all end like poorly in this episode, right? Fua, being Fua, jumps in and yanks the whole 01 driver and belt off of 01 to
Dehension him.
dehension Aruto before he goes too berserk after he takes out Thouser. Fua just comes in and yanks the whole driver and belt
in
off of him.
in classic
Yeah.
Fua action style, just decides that ripping the belt off with pure anger is the best solution.
It works. It's awesome.
It works
actually-
perfectly.
I know we talked about this in Discord earlier. I was saying how, like, what's cooler, Metal Cluster or Black Hazard? And actually, it's kind of similar to, they would do the same thing for Sento when he was Black Hazard.
Yeah.
If he started to lose control, someone would have to take the trigger off.
Yeah.
That's true.
Unlike Black Hazard, there's no timing on you can control this power until you can't. It's immediately just everything's fucking sucks.
Everything sucks. It is similar though in the fact that Sento just completely loses his sense.
Yeah, the two are similar. They're both really cool. I think I like Metal Cluster overall better.
I personally like Metal Cluster better.
Just a little bit better.
I think we're a little bit biased also because, at least for me and Jesse, it's like the shiny new one that we just saw, whereas Black Hazard was like months ago. So it's like
it's
I
just
don't
like know. So Black Hazard's super cool, but I mean it just fights normally. I love the whole like metal locust motif and how like they come off in swarms and just shred everything. It's so unique. And
It has different features than base form, whereas Hazard Trigger was just base form but stronger but black.
fair
I
enough.
mean, like it like Hazard Trigger is probably the coolest looking form that Build has. But I like just Hazard Trigger, Metal Cluster Hopper.
It's really hard.
No, for me it's no contest. Metal Cluster Hopper is.
I don't know about no contest, but it's pretty close for me. I
It's
would
close.
still I would say Metal Cluster Hopper for the same reasons that Jesse does, that the power is just ridiculously cool. But as far as the coolness of the forms, I really like because the problem is for build in general, Black Hazard was the coolest build form.
Yeah.
You know? So it's like
Well, yeah,
I think that Shining Hopper is actually cooler than Metal Cluster Hopper in my opinion, because I like the zipping around.
I still prefer, in terms of design, Shining Assault Hopper. But like the thing is, like, all of 01's forms are like S
Superior
tier.
to- yeah.
And all of the designs are S tier. I would say even just like show wide, like every writer like have S tier, at least A tier designs, I would say. Whereas in build, like there was a lot of like hits and misses when it came to the designs. So
True.
But I'm personally biased towards 01 because it's clearly like my favorite season that I've watched. So
Yeah.
who knows really?
We can cap off this episode by saying that after the fight, it's not all bad. We actually get like a happy moment at the end because the outcome of the trial is that the defendant comes out not guilty, and Heaton finally gets 1 point in the jobs competition. So it's now 2-1 in favor of Zaya.
Not a clean sweep, baby.
And we can jump straight into episode 23. It's the last one.
Yes,
let's
let's
go.
do it.
Okay, so we finished the last jobs competition episode. Episode 23 is called I'm in Love with Your Intelligence. And this week we actually take a break from the jobs competition arc in general. We open with Aruto. He's in his office and he's got like a briefcase open with all of his progress keys, and he's trying to make them, he's testing out each and every single one, and none of them are working with the 01 driver anymore.
Yeah, like it doesn't authorize any of them.
None of them are authorizing. So the only weapon in his arsenal now is the metal cluster key, which makes him go berserk.
Yeah, it's kind of terrifying.
And at
bad.
that moment, in his office, the guest star from last episode, the victim of the marriage scam, Ebi, barges in, and she says to Aruto that she wants him to find her a husband. It didn't work out with the defendant in the end from last episode.
For some reason.
So she asks Aruto for a human gear that can help her find her perfect match. And lo and behold, Hidden Intelligence has one. And we're introduced to marriage counselor Humagir Enmusubi Match. His name is Match. So we go and see him, and he analyzes Ebi, her progress, what is it called, guys?
Rise phone.
Her Rise phone, and analyzes her Rise phone for her best match and says he found it. And so we cut to the next scene where we're supposed to meet what her best match is.
Yeah, can we just say that he legitimately yells out "best match" when he finds it, and obviously a reference to build.
We get a lot of hammy best match.
Love it.
Lots of best
In
matches.
this, which is awesome.
Pretty good.
And after he announces that he found her best match, we head off to the place where she's supposed to meet her match, and obviously it's Guy.
Yep.
It's so awful.
Yeah.
What makes it worse is that Yaiba somehow Yua is awkwardly there.
It's
like,
so
or the-
weird. It's
for the-
so weird
the
that
matchmaking.
Yaiba accompanies him to this like first meeting date thing. It's so weird that she's there.
And she's there just like in a speech that's like obviously like memorized, saying all of his like best
All his
qualities
good
and
points,
stuff.
Yeah, it's like, God, it's so weird. The gross thing too, right? I guess it gets brought up later, but he's 45.
Izu reminds everyone that he's
Yeah,
45.
he's like, I'm eternally 24. No, he's 45.
He's 45. Ebi is clearly like in her early 20s at most.
But
right?
the best part is like everyone's obviously like confused, like why Guy, and Match like starts describing why, because he's like the worst person in the world,
yeah,
and
an
that's what she
awful
likes,
person,
and he's
yeah.
just like, what the fuck? You're just gonna insult me?
It was so good because at first Yaiba like looks like she's giving the speech and she looks like she hates her life, and then they start insulting Guy and she's just laughing quietly to herself, and it was the best. That was a good moment.
I really like that line. I think was it Aruto that said it, like, "Are you here against your will?"
Yeah.
And blink
Blink,
twice.
blink if you're here against your will.
That was really awesome.
It was so good.
But yeah, just like Jesse said, so Match winds up insulting Guy while he's just going off explaining the reason why they matched up. so Guy's like, fuck this, I'm
He's
out.
like, this is awful, I'm leaving.
And as he and Yaiba are about to leave, there's a raider that shows up
Yeah.
and Yaiba henshins to fight him.
Pretty
for,
sure
like,
this
the-
one's a penguin.
Yeah,
The
I'm
Raider?
assuming it's a penguin. Was it ever said?
No, he looks like a penguin. It's just weird because he uses like air, like based attacks or like wind based attacks, but penguins don't fly. But he's like clearly a penguin. He's got like the long eyebrows, like an emperor
Yeah.
penguin and stuff. So he's clearly a penguin, but they
This
don't.
is the first time we've seen a raider henshin like off screen the whole time, and we haven't seen his henshin
Yeah,
at all.
so we don't know who it is.
So the raider attacks. Yaiba finally henshins to fight him, and I don't remember seeing Valkyrie fight in a really long time. So
It's
this is-
been a few episodes for sure.
It's been since she fought with Fua.
Oh,
It
in
seems
the
like a
garage.
long time ago.
It's been like about 5 or 6 episodes, I think.
So she's kind of holding her own, right, in that fight, and then, but for some reason, Naruto decides to jump in to try and
It's-
help.
It's the flaw of his character is that he can't stand by. Like it's good normally he can't stand by when somebody's in trouble. He wants to go help, but now that he can't control his transformation, it's not a good thing.
Not at all. He actually winds up making things a little bit worse. I think it would have been better off without him. So he winds up going berserk in Metal Cluster Hopper mode, and Yaiba goes all out Lightning Hornet to try and stop him, but you know,
Yaiba's bugs are weaker than
Yeah.
Aruto's bugs.
No match.
no best match there.
No best
No.
match.
The raider winds up escaping, and thankfully Fua shows up as a Salt Wolf to help. And the two of them combined, so Fua manages to distract or to lock up Metal Cluster Hopper for enough time that Yaiba can kind of swoop in and plunk the Metal Cluster key out of 0-1 and
Yanks the
dehenshin
key
him.
out, yeah.
During that whole scuffle, Match got a little bit hurt in the fight,
Yeah, the Raider attacked him when it showed up.
which I thought was pretty cool that he didn't just straight up go Magia in that moment, because it's taken a lot less to turn Humagears into Magia before. But they have to wind up, so Aruto and Izo have to take him back to the Hedon's secret room so that Match can be fixed by the Zaya printer. And while he's being fixed, Izu and Naruto talk about how they need to analyze the evil data in the Metal Cluster key that makes him go berserk. But before they can do that, there's been a complaint against Match. So Match gets fixed, and they head to Aruto's office, where there's this angry man just sitting there waiting to complain about Match. And we find out that he's Ebi's friend since childhood. His name is Nikaido. And he's incredibly jealous of Match, the Humagear.
Yeah.
So he basically tells Aruto to keep that man away from Ebi, and he storms off. And Match concludes that Nikaido is actually the raider that attacked them earlier, because what Match does is he matches things. So he matched the movements of the angry man in the office to the movements of the raider that attacked him earlier. And it synced up. So that basically lets everybody know that this guy is most likely the raider that attacked them earlier. But to confirm that, they go through this whole elaborate thing where they set up a fake wedding between Ebi and Match to piss off Nikaido enough to reveal himself as the raider.
Yeah. Because Ebi actually thinks she's in love with the Humagear Match
Yeah,
for some reason.
Yeah.
for some reason. She's just annoying. She's awful.
And they get the actor Humagear from a while back to officiate the wedding.
NG.
Yeah.
He's acting as a priest.
Yeah.
Humagear.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it's perfect.
So during the ceremony, Nikaido storms out of the fake wedding right when it's time for them to, you may now kiss the bride. At that moment, he's like, okay, I'm out of here. And he gets pissed, and you see him walk out of the church, and he's holding the raid riser and the key. And they don't actually wind up kissing inside the church. Match basically tells Ebi that he can't marry her, and then he has to repel her. And I'll let you guys talk about the next part, because it's the best part ever.
Well, basically, we get he starts going off on her why he can't marry her because it's a Humagear, and even if he wasn't, he wouldn't anyways because they're a poor match. And then Izu has a sudden realization of a little flashback of they're in Yeah, they're in Aruto's office, and Match goes up to Izu. He's like, "Hey, can you tell me some phrases, some uncouth phrases I could say to make someone upset?" And she's like, "Why do you need to know?" He's like, "Oh, don't worry, I have my reasons." So then she starts whispering to him, and then it cuts back. And she's like, "Oh no,
You need to put the screenshot of her face up.
oh yeah."
It's
He just starts going off on her. It's bleeping everything out. Everyone's horrified, covering their ears. Izu looks distraught, like her face is just so defeated
she's
and
completely
terrified.
dejected.
She's just it's the best.
There's so much shame and regret.
And she just goes behind, she's standing behind Aruto looking depressed. She's like, "I'm so sorry."
Oh my god.
Oh man, that was like the best thing ever. Actually,
Yeah.
we took that screenshot and just turned it into a meme, and now it's just like everywhere.
It's everywhere.
Anyway, dude, okay, we can talk about it more in a bit, but let's finish off the
Yeah,
episode.
yeah.
So after that barrage of insults, Ebby winds up slapping Match, and you can't blame her because he just really went off on her. But that slap in the face is enough for him to go Magia now this time. So that triggers the malice of humans inside of him. And then Nikaido bursts in and fights Match, who's now the Frog Humagear. So we have Penguin versus Frog.
Classic combination.
And Aruto goes Metal Cluster Hopper and all berserk-like starts fighting them both. And obviously, as he always does, Thouser comes in and starts fighting Metal Cluster Hopper. So we've got this four-way fight going on. And Metal Cluster Hopper, for the first time we get to see his finisher, he uses a finisher and beats the Magia, the Raider, and knocks down Thouser at the same time.
Just in one. I guess it's technically like 3 fell swoops, but it's all at once.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
So
cool.
they're all down. 2 of them are defeated, right? Ebby finds out, so Nikaido dehensions. Ebby finds out that Nikaido did all that for her and basically hugs him. Match, who's a dying Magia now, screams out "best match" before blowing up into a little heart cloud of dust.
Implying that he went berserk on purpose.
Which is the best.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
And at the end of the episode, Metal Cluster Hopper is still berserk, and Thouser is basically on his knees, just like talking shit about how locusts are, a plague on blah 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 and what they represent.
That was a good episode.
It was a good episode.
I do have one note for this episode that I wanted to share with you, Zach, is that the guy that plays Match is apparently Blue Buster from Go Buster. So it was kind of like a reunion between Yellow Buster and Blue Buster.
Pretty fucking
nice.
Cool. I like that a lot. That honestly makes so much sense. That's really fun. I like that a lot. That's super cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I also have as a bullet point lots of best matches, but no rabbits or tanks.
Yeah, what the hell?
No rabbit or tank. Yeah, he could have been the I can't speak.
The Raider could have been like one.
He could have been a rabbit. Yeah, it could have been the other.
Yeah, that would have been so cool.
Yeah, would have been a.
I also have as a bullet point no best match for vice president.
Yeah, no one on the system.
Because he sucks so bad. He's the worst.
Wait, can we just appreciate the fact that even Guy had a best match, but the vice president can't?
Yeah. Do you guys have anything else you want to say?
Metal Rising Impact is the name of.
It was cool.
Metal Rising Impact. Yeah, it's great. Yeah, he basically just like split his armor into 3, and then defeated everybody.
The one of him became 3 attacks.
Thanks for watching, everybody. If you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. It helps us a lot. If you want to watch us film this live, we film it every Sunday at 5 p.m. Eastern time over at my Twitch channel. at twitch.tv/agiantrobot. If you're watching live right now, don't forget to go over to YouTube. We're changing the day that we upload the videos. We're going to be uploading them now every Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. So you can go watch those every Sunday. We have 4 episodes already that you can go and catch up on. Yeah, thank you everybody for hanging out with us today. We're going to take a quick break, and then I'm going to be back playing video games. We might all be here playing video games, actually. So if you want to watch us play potentially Gartic Phone, I might play a little bit of Apex Legends or Dead by Daylight. It depends. But stick around for video games, and we will be right back.